mics are hot? All right, fantastic. Guys, we'll get started soon on the show, on Real Talk. Here on a Tuesday after the telethon. A lot to cover, and then we'll talk some real estate today, Keith.
I'm looking forward to it. It's a whole different, the young lady sitting to the right that we're going to call in here for a minute, Susan Steinmart. It's a very different vibe today than it was at 10 o'clock in the morning on Friday. I was in awe with you, I can tell you that much.
This is easy compared to having that many guests and that workload.
Well, we talked about this. It's never really been done before.
No. We'll also talk real estate today, right?
Yeah, I'm excited about talking about that. We're going to talk a little bit about, how we can, some tips and techniques that Yona and I use and agents use to help folks make this decision to put the house on the market and kind of get over the question of where do I go? And so we've had a couple of successes with some tips and techniques lately, and we'll talk about that. That seems to be the conversation du jour. How'd you like that word? Around real estate these days. So,
it's the Tuesday edition of Real Talk. We will get started shortly. Susan Steinmart, our guest on the show, Executive Director of the Thomas Jefferson Community Land Trust. Give the show a like and a share if you're watching on Twitter, on Twitch, on YouTube, LinkedIn, on Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, iloveseville.com, anywhere.
Periscope?
We're on Periscope. We are on Periscope.
What is this?
Is that right, Judah? We're on Periscope?
What is this Twitch?
We're on Twitch is a social media platform the millennials are all over.
Oh, man.
But J-Dubs, we can rock and roll when you're ready. Good Tuesday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk. This is an insider's guide to real estate life in the pursuit of happiness. We are live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love Seville network. A lot to cover on the Tuesday edition. The Tuesday edition is often a recap of the weekend, filled with a lot of knowledge bombs and quality tidbits. And today's show follows that model. Judah Wickhauer is our director. Why don't we go to the studio camera? We'll welcome Keith Smith to the program. We're rested and caught up on sleep and energized following a successful telethon on Friday to benefit the Thomas Jefferson Community Land Trust.
Amen. And rested up is maybe you, because you're a little younger than me, but it's taken me a little longer to rest up. But I've said this before. I said this to you privately. I'm going to say it live again. Could not have done it without you. Could not have done this without your team. And I was in awe for 12 hours just trying to keep up with you on the co-host. I know you say this is what you do and you're great at it, and you are. But from my heart to you in front of all these people, thank you very much for what you did.
Sure, our pleasure. So how do you want to do here? We have Susan in the house.
We do.
Yeah, she's the executive director of the Land Trust. We have some folks to thank. We have some news to get to from a real estate standpoint, Keith.
Yeah, so I think we should introduce Susan. She's sitting off to my right, to your left, in our telethon hot seat, which I thought worked great on that. So everybody knows, everybody's watching. Each one of us are over 8 feet apart from one another. It's just the cameras bouncing around. Did I do a good job?
Yeah.
So Susan, hi, and what we want to do is just kind of give us a quick overview of how we're doing, and we mostly want to thank all the great folks that helped us and spend a couple of minutes chatting about that.
Yeah, thank you, Keith and Jerry. It was such an incredible event. I'm still, this point in time, still blown away by how this event came together. I mean, we could spend hours just talking about logistics. We could spend hours talking about the funding that was raised, the super performances that occurred throughout. But I think for me, the most compelling thing about the telethon was how we were able to put a focused lens on the stories of how affordable housing affects our community. Each one of the artists and performers stepped up and shared how affordable housing was a challenge in certain ways, and it really kind of brought it down to a very human level. It got outside of the data that some of the government officials talk about, and just made it very real for how affordable housing is such a big issue in our community, how it affects so many people. Some of the stories were somewhat haunting. I remember one where social services agencies, for example, are affected when there's turnover. Their talent cannot find affordable housing, and so they come out of the area, and then all those folks who are seeing a therapist, for example, they lose that therapist, and then a few weeks later they get a new therapist, and that's very disruptive for those kinds of folks who are seeking services. The other thing, Keith, that completely blew me away was the realtors. And it reminded me how they see this issue every day, doing what they do to try and help people fulfill that American dream of buying a home, and then understanding, even with, and Keith, you know this better than anybody, Jerry, you know this, having to navigate all the new regulations around home sales. Fair housing, thank you. And seeing the challenges with the new lending practices and how many people sort of fall out of that process.
So you asked me earlier today before this, what was my favorite part of it? And other than spending time with my good buddy here, Jerry, through the whole 12 hours, what I loved the most about it was and kind of later in the show, and you probably didn't watch it because you were busy at the other venues, the kind of little competition that was going on between Nest and Keller Williams Alliances. Yeah. And I know, so folks that know, the reason why we're not talking about a specific number, there's a whole forensic dive that Susan has to do and literally watch the 12 hours because we were like triple matching and double matching, and I was throwing in 750 and Jerry was throwing in the 250 and 500 and all this different stuff. But there was, at some point, I happen to think, not because of my alliance with Keller Williams Alliance, but I think we won. But we're going to go ahead and dig into that. I think we beat. I was on the way driving and talking to Greg Slater. So what was your final number? So Susan's going to do a deep forensic dive. I just wanted to jump in because that was really a lot of fun. It
was really great, and I think Greg's team may have taken Keller, so we'll have to see.
I don't know about that, but you need to do the forensic dive, and you will be the arbiter of that.
Yeah, and I think I also go back to, here I am, executive director for Land Trust. The Thomas Jefferson Community Land Trust adopted their strategic plan last year. That was a big deal. And one of the primary goals was to raise awareness of what the Land Trust does. And so I just want to point out, thanks to Jerry, thanks to Keith, bringing together this concept of a telethon, which has never been done before. This reached, was it 30,000 viewers, you said, Jerry?
In totality have watched the telethon.
That's
since
incredible.
We've done it Friday to today. Yeah.
That's incredible.
What a number.
It was like on 500
Over 30,000 people have watched it. I mean, think about that.
Yeah, and even though the Land Trust has been around for 12 years, it hasn't really become the go-to for affordable housing solutions, and now it's seen as one of the options for affordable housing.
One of the things we try to do on Real Talk, and Jerry really coined this term, we try to make what we do, and Land Trust being one, relatable.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah. Approachable.
There you go. Approachable and digestible.
Right.
There you go. My attention deficit zone kicked in for a second there. But yeah, so that was kind of my personal goal is to see if we can make, because it is somewhat of a complicated model. It's a little bit difficult to explain, but I think we're doing a great job on trying to approach those three levels of awareness on that end of it.
And then if we just talk about who all came together to help with this, can we say a little bit crazy telethon? It's never been done before. We obviously, you, Keith, you, Jerry, Judah Whitcower, who this would never have come together without Judah's talent.
That's right.
In scheduling.
And he gave $250. And on top of that, you gave $250, right, Judah?
He did. He personally contributed to the Land Trust. Yeah. And then we had volunteers behind the scenes. Just incredible work to help make this come together with Jody Mills, Margie Shepard, Ann Garrity. Sherry Smith of Lander Creative was kind of our Facebook programming guru for getting the word out from the Land Trust side. Marshall Hanbury, who was actually a performer as well, helped us get all the technical aspects set up. And I have to just say up front, from my perspective, pretty incredible that there weren't more technical challenges. The schedule really pretty much flowed.
Well,
And we had 15 performances, and we had drop-in guests, which I was hearing positive feedback. People really enjoyed the drop-in guests as well.
so I know Jerry publicly speaks, right, in speaking engagements. I do a little bit of it myself, and the rule of thumb is somewhere between 5 to 10 hours of times the prep of your actual speak. Does that sound about right, Jerry?
Yeah, that's right.
And so just think about that.
Well, that's for a speech. I mean, for a show, I mean, that does not include Judah's time when doing a speech, yeah.
Yeah,
we the ROI on this is probably not going to be there for us. Let's put it that way. Okay.
You didn't do it for that reason
Yeah.
anyway. So, but yeah, so I just, my point is try to follow behind the scenes thing, that this was multiple weeks of work to put out 12 hours. So, that's the reason it came out so smoothly as it did. It was all the behind the scenes hard work.
And then I also want to call out our partners who gave us logistical support. With COVID, this was pretty tricky to pull off, and we had to ensure COVID safety for everybody. So Azarat was a tremendous partner in helping us recruit musical talent to the performance. So that I give so much credit to Azarat for helping us bring on the musicians. I mean, just listening to John to Earth talk with us that evening and give his own personal tribute to Chick Corea, that probably butchering his name, but everyone knows that famous
Chick Corea?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That was
Rock star. Yeah.
That was amazing to hear him talk about
Chick.
what jazz means to him and what Chick meant to him.
I used to watch Chick Corea play in New York City when I was a teenager. I used to sneak into the bars, and he was in the jazz scene in Manhattan. Oh, is my mother watching? Oops. She actually watches.
And then the front porch, too. Like, I had never been inside the front porch. It's got this exterior to it that you just don't really know what's going on inside. But when you get inside and you see all the musical instruments and you see the performances, it's a magical, magical place. So I really want to give a shout out to the front porch for helping us as a location sponsor.
And then the Jefferson Theater.
Jefferson Theater. Cannot
That was
forget
huge.
Jefferson Theater. Yeah. And I had the privilege of being backstage while you all were on the telethon platform. I got to be backstage and hear the thumping of the musicians, and that was
It's kind of right up.
so
Look at that
cool.
smile on her face.
So cool. Oh my gosh.
Well,
Great.
the list is super long to thank. We just wanted to take a few minutes today and thank you, thank Jerry, thank everybody for what they do. Mostly thank the community.
Yeah.
For then.
It was awesome.
It was awesome.
Community came together.
But this isn't over, right? We're still going to be plugging at it. We've got lots of work to do. But the fact that we were able to do this and get this community to come in and do something that's never been done before, just by itself, is a huge success.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So, if anything else you got to wrap up on that, Susan, before we kind of move on? Anything else on your mind?
Just a great big shout out to the artists and performers for such a great job. Many of them had never been on the Skype platform, the I Love Seville platform, so that was really cool to see them just pivot and make it happen.
And to get in front of 30,000 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you had musicians performing at the Jefferson when they couldn't perform otherwise.
That's right.
I mean, think about that.
Oh my God, the joy on their faces
Yeah.
when they got to do that was just
Many of them had
fantastic.
said, we haven't performed since COVID on the telephone.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So it was good. Thank you, Susan. We're very excited for everything to transpire after you watch the replay. I'm sure we'll announce it here on Real Talk. And thank you for all the effort.
And then just a quick shout out, you all, for our major sponsors, with the S.L. Williamson
Yeah, thank you.
Construction, Panera Bread, Ting, Fulton Bank, our Land Trust board members. Thank you all.
I think you've got a little bit of rewatching of the Batman and Robin show for 12
Yeah.
hours and a little pen to try to figure that out.
Who was Batman and Robin on that telethon is the question.
Oh.
Rosemary Postel, welcome to the broadcast. Thank you kindly for joining us.
Do I have to say it?
No.
I will.
I think we know.
I will say
we
that.
know.
I will say if I could have fit into your Robin
think we
suit,
know.
If I could have fit, thank you, Susan. If I could have fit into your Robin suit, which would be very doubtful, I was clearly the Robin on that show.
Well, let's talk real estate.
Yeah, definitely. So one of the things I kind of wanted to pivot to is one of the things that are constantly coming out, constant conversations going on about, lack of inventory, right? And how can we as agents, how can we as marketing firms, how can we help get this confidence boosted up, right? Mm-hmm. And the confidence is, where am I going to go if I sell my house? And there's a couple of techniques, and we were, as you know, I can't go into particular specifics on a transaction, but we had, thank you again, Susan, we had a transaction happen over the weekend at the lake. It was a pretty awesome experience. Yeah. Put it on Friday, had oh my God, by the end of that first day, we had multiple contracts on the table. Multiple showings. I think we were averaging Friday through Sunday a showing every 45 minutes between. That's the reason Mrs. Smith didn't show up at the telethon until late.
Wow.
From 9 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night.
Okay.
Every 45 minutes we had
Serious
a couple.
demand.
Serious demand. And so, when we sat down with this particular client, because this is a unique, this is not a unique circumstance, but what this particular client wants to do is they're trying to sell a current home, and they want to upsize actually, right? And so their concern was, well, if we sell when the house is hot, when the market is hot, but I can't buy because I can't find what I'm going to buy, what can you guys do for us to guarantee or to help us through this particular process where we can capitalize on the sale, right? Can't think of a better time now to sell financially and give us time to go ahead and do this. And it's something that what Yona and I did, and when you take a look at the MLS listings now, it's in agent notes. What we're now starting to put in there is language similar to the home sale is contingent upon homeowners contracting on a new home of choice. So what happened with this, every 45 minutes for these 3 days, every agent who brought Judah in was very transparent, very upfront that this is what we're looking to do. And so what's happening now with the buyers are now starting to adjust their contracts, adjust their thinking to allow that. Again, I can't give specifics, but every single one of the offers we got on the table had a provision in it allowing our client time to find another piece of property. So what we're doing now is we've figured out a way, just like we did with COVID, right? COVID hit in, our industry adapted pretty quickly.
Sure.
Figured out a way that we can raise the confidence level of the sellers to put their homes on the market. Now we have to actually find a home. One of the interesting things when we get to the numbers here, we're spreadsheet number geeks here, you and I. I'm starting to see the coming soons, more of them increasing.
Sure.
Like single digits or double, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But a couple of weeks ago, you didn't see a lot of that.
I don't even understand why someone would not do coming soon. I just cannot comprehend why someone would not create early demand for something before it comes
there's
to
rules
market.
we have to follow.
Yeah, but coming soon is within those rules.
Within those rules, that's exactly right.
Yeah, everyone should be doing coming soon.
Absolutely. So if we're looking in the city of Charlottesville, it only happens to have one.
How does coming soon pop up on the MLS or on Zillow or on Trulia or on Realtor.com, in the Realtor app?
So I can't speak to Zillow or Realtor app because I don't quite know, but I can tell you in the MLS, so when you do a search, which is what I did, what you have in front of you, and I do a search for actives in Charlottesville, it will show under status coming soon.
Okay.
So in Charlottesville, there's one showing as...
And that RSSs or syndicates to the Realtor app? So if an agent does the coming soon, then people get tapped on the shoulder in their inbox and notified if they use those apps.
I'll have to be honest with you. Somebody can do that for us live if they have the time to go ahead and do that. I mean, if you take a look at Charlottesville active, there's 3 coming soons out of 14 homes that are on the market, ranging from that 219 up to 18. So you're 100% right. So now it's there. It's coming soon. There's a whole process we have to follow, and I don't really want to try to get down in the weeds on that. I'm kind of asking if Quentin Beckham wants to come in one day to talk about that a little bit more. But what I really wanted to focus the conversation on was our conversation with Jerry Miller and Mrs. Miller about, okay, how can we raise your comfort level up, your confidence up, that we can capitalize on this market or take advantage of this market. And now there's a couple other tools in the tool chest, which, again, I can't go into details, but a common practice is that we will go ahead and sell or close and do a leaseback scenario on that for a couple of months. So again, buyers and sellers are starting to figure this out themselves through the
Explain the leaseback.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'd love to. It's a great tool. Everybody, of course, has to agree to it. And you're starting to see these leasebacks in initial offers. I'm negotiating 2 of them right now. That's the reason I had to jump out of our pre-production meeting to take a phone call. So basically what happens in simple terms, Keith Smith and Yona Smith is buying Jerry and your lovely wife's Mrs. Miller's home. And what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, right, you're going to stay in that home. I'm going to close on your home on Tuesday, on March 1, right? And you're going to rent it back from me. So basically, I become a landlord for 3 months or 2 months or 60 days or whatever period of time. So just look at it like a lease, right? I'll actually consummate the close, and then there's a separate, what they call a possession by purchaser agreement. There's also agreements called a seller-possessor agreement, possession agreement, where it's the reverse of that, right? Where the seller, now in this particular case or these cases we might have going on over this weekend, that's actually what happens, is the buyer's going to buy, the seller's going to say, I'm going to rent it, but there's a purchaser and a seller's two sides to it. And everybody is using these tools to help loosen this market up a little bit and kind of loosen up the transactions back and forth and raise the confidence level of Mr. and Mrs. Miller, or or Liza and Alfred over there.
Let's say you do not, let's say in this hypothetical situation, a house is not found that meets the condition of the people selling their home.
That's a great question.
The deal then, the seller of the first house can then say, look, we're not going to keep the contract. We're going to stay in this home.
No. So it's already closed.
Okay. No. Initially, you had said the condition in the contract was the seller has to find a home that meets their quality.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. That's
okay.
correct.
So if that seller does not find a home, that deal never happens.
That deal never happens. It never closes. That's correct. It's a condition of what I would call a condition of closing.
That's a hell of a condition.
It's a hell of a condition. That's why.
That's a hell of a condition for a buyer to be patient with.
No, for a buyer to be patient with.
Yeah, for a buyer to be patient with. Yeah.
That's why these things usually twist over to these early possession agreements.
Right. So the leasebacks.
The leasebacks.
And that's what I did, was the leaseback. Now the leasebacks.
Oh, you did that personally?
Oh, I've done leasebacks.
I did not know that.
Leasebacks generally are for a few days to help line up a closing. Oftentimes the leaseback don't go 60, 90 days.
Yeah. So
60, 90-day leasebacks are rare.
But not now.
Well, because you're saying it's an inventory pinch.
That's exactly
so both sides are having to agree to something they don't want to agree to.
So this has been in existence. This capability has been there for quite some time.
Because the leaseback I did was for like 2 days.
Yeah. And that is
to help the other side get to closing on time.
Or there's a truck
Yeah, it was a moving truck.
Yeah, or some
It was a domino deal, and they had to close on something, so I did the lease back for them to help them.
You're 1,000% right. It's typically very short.
24 hours.
Oh, or whatever.
48 hours.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But yeah, not months. But this is commonplace. We have multiple transactions we're doing right now under contract in the closing process with these things, part of them, for months. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, right? But
Are the sellers entertaining the thought of a 6-month rental? And I know we've had Quentin on this show who said otherwise, but is that being entertained now because inventory is so pinched?
I can tell you we're in the middle of actually having those conversations with people. 6 months is a bit deep.
Okay.
At the moment, it's not quite that far. It's usually 3 months, 90 days, 60 to 90 days. There's enough inventory trickling in, and it was. And thank you for our chemistry working in our coffee today. I did a stat this morning, so everybody's kind of freaking about inventory. And in our pre-production notes, it's in red. The first 45 days of this year, no new construction. There was 112 properties that went under contract, that went into pending. That's 2.5 units per day. Okay. So the market is turning.
2.5 units per day went under contract in 2021 so far.
That's exactly right. So that's in our, Albemarle County, in our the city of Charlottesville and the 5 counties. Okay. Right. No new construction. Right. We always pull that out because that kind of skews the numbers from a numbers perspective. There was 112 properties that went pending in the first 45 days. Unless my math is wrong, it's approximately 2.5 units per day. So what that's telling me is that we are coming up with solutions to do this. And I, of course, you don't know because you're not part of the transactions and that you don't really know until it's over. But I would suspect, and if there's any real estate agents watching, I would suspect a lot of them are using this tool of early possession or a seller's possession, or the seller staying in the home and renting it back from the buyer, or vice versa. And I would love, if I would have thought about it enough prior to the show today, I probably would have send out that question out to the feed to go ahead and.
How many agents are structuring deals this way?
Yeah, and what tools are they using to kind of open this market up a little bit, and we constantly talk about this on the show, and I will continue to talk about it. Any market, but particularly now, this is why you need a trusted advisor. You need somebody to sit down with you and help you navigate this minefield. And Yona was telling me this morning on the way in, the stress level that this puts on both the buyers and the sellers. Forget about us, is huge. Right? We've had this conversation with this particular seller. We spent our time explaining exactly how this process is going to go. It went the way we said it was going to go. And the 5 minutes after the deal was done, they were like, "We got to go. We got to look. We got to go out. We got to go out. We got to go out." And I said, "Well, okay, slow down. We've got a little time. Let's see how the market. Let's do our jobs. Let's pay attention to the market, and let's see what's coming on. Let's see what's going on." And one of the things that we're going to start doing again, frankly, is what we used to do in the old school. And after the show, we're going to have a conversation about it. But start. We're going to start reaching out through the GISs to say, okay, this is the particular home that they want, and we're going to target market individual communities that this particular buyer would like to be in, and say, look, I got a buyer. Are you interested in selling?
One of the things we did for a client on our roster was use the GIS and target landowners, and these landowners, not landowners that own the land through a corporation, or not a bank that owned the land, but individuals like husband and wives. And we used the GIS to vet a highly curated list of target neighborhoods. Yep. And that translated into 15x ROI. Yeah.
I hate to do this to you live, but
Yeah.
but that's what we have to do. We have to get creative out there because the buyers want to buy and the sellers want to sell, and we've got to help them through this process, through our skill sets and our ability to communicate with the other side in the way that they understand it, or our client in the way they understand it. That say, okay, everybody's in the same boat. This is not just you, right? And there's tools and there's ways to do it. And as long as we are transparent with the public, which is what we were, that, look, we're only going to accept the home is available for sale. We're only going to accept contracts with this condition in it. And if you got a contract, great. Or if you want to put one in, you're not. But at least we very clearly told the market how this particular transaction, from our client's perspective, has to proceed. And again, in 35 years of doing this, I don't think we've ever done that. I cannot ever remember since 1987 kind of saying, okay, either you're selling your house or you weren't selling your house. Not saying, hey, I'm going to sell my house. Oh, by the way, I need you to give me X number of months or a certain period of time.
What's a fair grace period, for lack of a better phrase, to say I need 90 days after we go under contract to find another house? Is 90 days fair or too long?
I side for a reason.
Okay.
I don't think anybody knows that date.
Because the 90 days from now could be a completely different market.
It could be.
Especially in COVID.
It could very well be.
And in 90 days, asking a buyer of a home to wait 90 days before they actualize their version of the American dream is a long time.
Yeah, so just to be clear, most of these transactions consummate. So they close 30, 45 days later, and then there's this lease back.
That's what I'm saying. Is the lease back period of 90 days too much?
Well, it's what you negotiate with both sides mutually agree to, right? And I know what you're trying. I know the approach that you're trying to take.
Yeah.
I think in today's market, it's going to be really hard to find a house, negotiate it, because here's the deal. This house that we did, there was every 40. You're a smart guy.
So you're saying even if you found a house, you're going to have so much competition on the house you find. The odds of you going under contract of that house you find are against you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So even if you find a house, you're probably not going to get that one.
We have client, and you and I had an offline conversation about this. About one of my concerns is that the buyers are going to start losing interest in putting offers in.
Yeah.
We have clients that are in their 10th offer, in their 8th offer, in their 6th offer, in their 5th offer.
Yeah.
And it's emotionally draining, right? You got to have to go see the home, go through this whole thing, so forth, so on. But just to put it in perspective, you do the math. It was every from 5 to 9, 9 to 5, from 9 to 5.
8 hours?
Yeah, it was at least 8 visits times 3. That's 24, if I got my math right?
Yeah.
There was 24 families or agents that went through this particular piece of property and resulted in, let's say, half in contracts.
Is the in-person open house back?
No, nobody gets that far now.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Because you had that much traffic in person, right?
Yeah, I mean...
Oh, you're saying the house is already under contract before it even gets to the open house point. Yeah, gotcha.
I mean, when you have that kind of traffic, no, that's at a certain price points, right?
Sure.
Higher price points may not have the same traffic count, but that these multiple offers are pretty much across the board. Nationally, I believe it's 3 to 4, on an average. Somebody, I haven't done the math, but somebody who's a lot smarter than me can figure out possibly what the normal multiple offers is. I can tell you everything we're doing right now is multiple offers. Multiple offers on the sales side or multiple offers on the buy side. And it is emotionally draining, right, for the buyer. It's emotionally draining for the seller, right? You've got 12, 15, 7 offers on a house. And this is when you need a skilled agent to break them down.
Yeah, to vet them.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, not even vet them, just to say, okay, this offer says this offer says that, this offer says this one has a multiple, this one has an accelerator clause of X, Y, and Z, this one doesn't, and this one is this financing, this one is that financing, oh, by the way, this one is cash, right? And you have to, literally, we create spreadsheets with net proceeds for each one of them that we present to our seller and say, okay, here you go. And we coach them, we encourage them through the process, but the decision is ultimately theirs.
Sure, of course.
On what they want to do.
You say 124 properties, 124 units of housing went under contract.
112.
112, excuse me. 112 properties went under contract in the last 45 days in Charlottesville, Albemarle, Fluvanna, Greene, Nelson, and Louisa County. That includes detached, attached, condos.
Everything.
Everything.
Other than new construction.
So if 112 went under contract in the last 45 days, how many are currently active?
I did not do that, but I did do active in Charlottesville because I figured we'd tie it a little bit to the land trust.
Okay.
And I did do active for Lake Monticello.
Okay. So active Charlottesville.
So I've got active, pending, and sold. This is year to date.
Got it.
14 units. And this, 14 homes. This is, and 3 of them are coming.
In the city of Charlottesville.
In the city of Charlottesville.
In 2021.
As of 5:30 this morning.
Okay. Okay.
3 of them are coming soon. So they are not technically available to see.
Okay.
Right, until they switch from this coming soon to actually hitting the MLS, so agents and buyers can go in and see it. But it's visible that it's coming. So that's really a great tool in today's market. As you said before, it's a great tool to use. Why you don't? I suspect all agents use that these days, right?
Okay.
If I'm going to. And I were to put your house on the market, we would follow the rules, of course, but we would put it in coming soon at the proper time, knowing that we would, at the proper time to switch it over so everybody can see it, everybody can have coming up. Technically we can't discuss it, which is true. We're not allowed, but you can see that as an agent, and
Sure.
it's coming up. But same thing, year to date, there was 46 homes went pending in Charlottesville, and then that same year to date, 41 units sold. Median sales price of $375.
Jeez.
You want to take a stab on how many days on market?
I'd say under 10.
Really good. Just
What is
about
it?
half that number.
5?
6.
6? Man, that's nuts.
3 bedrooms, 2
nuts.
baths, 1,700 square feet, 6 days on that. But the good news is I got 3 more coming pending, right? But that absorption rate, because this number of 2.5 units per day, I like to work in absorption rates, how quickly things are being absorbed, how coming on, coming off. That's 2.5 units a day. It's still lopsided. There's more coming off, which sounds kind of counterintuitive than that are coming on.
How about your neighborhood? My neighborhood, there's 2 units for sale. The rest are proposed new construction.
And
2 units for sale out of 840
And I
rooftops.
literally looked at that this morning, and I wasn't going to bring your neighborhood into the discussion, but yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So Lake Monticello. So it's interesting. I did a all of 2020 up until today.
Okay.
Sold, and I did that on purpose because
All of 2020 until February of today.
And the reason I did that.
16th of February of 2021.
Correct, sir.
Okay. Okay.
What do you think I did that for?
Why did you go from all of 2020 until February of
So
today?
remember the conversation. I always talk absorption.
Yeah.
What stat is that going to tell me that is super helpful? But the reason I want that stat is when I start looking at Lake Monticello current, it'll help me put it in perspective. Has something to do with the sun that comes up and goes down.
Tell me.
Days on market.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
So I took a look at a large swath of everything that sold at Lake Monticello, all of 2020 till
And then
today.
okay.
So I wanted to look at, because if you take a look at a 30 days, it skews the numbers a little bit. Would you take a stab on how many days on market?
It's got to be under 15. I would say your days on market are what, like 8? What's your
Dude,
days on the market?
you don't even look.
Oh, I mean, you tell me this, though. I listen to this twice a week.
12.
12, yeah. I mean, that's crazy.
But that
And you have 4,400 homes in there? 4,300?
4,300.
And how many are active?
So that time period, so 339 homes sold, but it was 12 days on
So you're
market.
talking about roughly 4,200. What is that? 5% of 6% of the neighborhood sold?
Or less than one house a day.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah, one house.
Right?
Sold. That's sold. That's
Sold.
closed.
Yeah.
I hand you a set of keys. And the reason that was super important,
Less than one house a day. That's the stat right there.
less
Yeah.
than one house a day.
Yeah.
And the reason I did that is when we start looking at active and pendings,
Uh-huh.
I kind of wanted to see what that days on market look like.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's 12 days and I go back from the first of the year to today, right? I got an understanding of it, right? I got an understanding that if we are looking at 5 days, which is what pending is right now
Uh-huh.
at Lake Monticello, then that's on par to what last year. So we're tracking maybe it's a little bit less when it's all said and closed. I think that 5 will jump up a little bit, but we're on track to that same pace that we, at least as I can see it, in the first 45 days of 2021. And Yona was telling me this morning, she goes, does it feel like it's busier than it's ever been? And I said, it does. And we track going back 15 years. I got a running spreadsheet on activity. And I went and looked at it this morning, and damn it, we are ahead of schedule. I will have to tell you, a lot of it has to do with what you're doing for us and what our relationship is. But we're ahead of schedule substantially than we were last year.
Over last year?
Over last year. Same month last year.
The predicament you have with the inventory coming on the market has persisted for, 14 months?
I think it's been going longer than that.
So you say since 2019?
I would say that.
I mean, certainly all of 2020. That's 12 months. 2
Yes.
months into 2021 is 14. You give it half of 2019 or more than that?
I will have that number for Friday.
Okay, so
Because-
let's say 2019. Okay.
I think it's sooner than that, but that's okay.
How do we, I mean, from my standpoint, you either have to expand the footprint of what's being sold or what's being talked about, which obviously the market's doing that by going to Waynesboro, by going deeper into Nelson, Fluvanna into Green.
So we're bringing an expert next week. I finally put it together for the other side of the mountain.
Who's that?
We're gonna bring a real estate agent in and a builder in. I'll leave it at that for the moment.
Okay.
Next
week.
That's the game plan.
Okay.
That's the game plan, because you're 1,000% right. What's the word I hate? What's the phrase I hate?
You hate drive till you qualify, and for the agents, it's drive till you can sell.
Drive to
Yeah. Because you don't have anything you can sell in this short radius of Charlottesville.
But I kind of want to tie this back to how we started with the land trust. This is why the land trust is so important. This is why all these donations that we received were so important. This is why we will continue to do it, because we have to create inventory. So the general market end of things, and I'm going to go back to something, my soapbox, turning red tape into green tape. So, and all these things have different effects on the greater economy and the greater footprint, right? Traffic and schools. I get all that, but the way to loosen this market up is to produce more, right? I'm pretty sure that's supply and
Pretty
demand.
obvious. Yeah.
They call it supply and demand. But so then and I can't remember who it was. I think it was Neil or somebody else said this, or maybe it was Quinton, that any increase, maybe at the higher level, also helps the lower level. It loosens up the lower level price points on that. But we've had debates back and forth. I mean, I'm looking at what's available in Charlottesville, and the cheapest home available is $219,000 for 700 square feet.
Is that the one off of Plantain Avenue or whatever it's called?
That's Smith Street, yeah.
Oh, Smith Street, okay.
Yeah.
So is that the base of Pantops Mountain over there?
I believe that is, if I remember it correctly. But then
You got to throw those two bottom ones out. And then what's the...
well, that's what the median does.
Yeah.
And then it throws out the high. But the median active price is $557
In the city of Charlottesville.
So we're offering, going back to land trust,
This is bananas right there.
We're
The
offering
median active in the city of Charlottesville is what? One more time.
557 point or comma 499.
Where's that at?
No, that's the median. So that's thrown. That's
Oh,
our
okay,
median
price, gotcha.
that's thrown a high and a
Understood.
low out.
Gotcha,
And
gotcha.
kind of getting in the middle.
Yeah.
So the median sales price is active listing price on that. We don't. I didn't bring the sales numbers with me for Charlottesville. What that is, but that is currently what's on the market. The median number. It's got a 5 in front of it. And oh, by the way, the median square footage, the median 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a little over 2,000 square feet for $500. 557,000. Nassau Street, what we're going to try to do on 10th and West, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, 1,500 square feet. Not quite the same, a little less on square footage. For under $215, and if we keep on getting these donations in, I think we can sell it for $199. Oh, by the way, net
Zero.
energy
efficient.
efficient.
Yeah.
And so it's just awesome what we're trying to do there and get it done. But so as Susan was saying,
How do you find the land that you're targeting for the land trust? How do you find the properties? How do you target them? Obviously, price points a factor.
I have to give out all my secrets.
Yeah, I'm just curious, out of curiosity.
It's relationships.
Yeah.
It's relationships.
Yeah.
It's really it's relationships. I mean, the whole relationships that we are currently doing with Stanley Martin and in Albemarle County, which is, at some point we'll talk about this, but that's just awesomeness that we're going to be able to provide 15 affordable housing buyers in
big time.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
But that was relationships. These were people. I don't like reflecting on myself. But they trust us.
Right.
They trust me. They trust you. Right? They trust us that we're going to do the right thing. And that's everybody across the board. The developer and builder trust us. The Albemarle County Board of Supervisors, staff, trust us that we're going to do the right thing. We're not going to, there's a term I use, okey doke. We're not going to screw anybody. We're going to actually perform. And to use your POP, right? We've done that in Nassau Street. We proved that we can actually do this and perform. This is why everybody's reaching out to us to help them do that. But to answer your question, it's relationships, it's gumshoe, walk neighborhoods. I do that.
Shoe leather.
Thank you. Shoe leather. I walk neighborhoods all the time. If I see a vacant lot, we look on the GIS, we reach out and say, look, this is who we are. We'd love to try to do this. We've got to raise the money to buy it, but here's your opportunity, one way or the other to help. But it's that simple. It's all leveraging of relationships and so we can move forward.
What did you make of, I'm curious because you were watching, what did you make of Lloyd's interview yesterday?
I thought it was so awesome. I texted you and said, please don't bring me on. Keep it going.
I'm curious of the garage and the streetscape topic.
Oh, great.
Because we'll leave the other stuff alone, but those two with the garage and the streetscape. I mean, weren't you surprised that he was, you know what, I gained...
This conversation I'm going to love.
I gained respect for him.
Yeah.
Because he's an attorney.
Yeah.
And all the attorneys want this garage.
Yeah.
And he was showing that this is about what's best for the community.
His math worked.
Yeah, and he's like, maybe we don't need this garage, and
No.
we'll do the West Main streetscape instead.
So I think his path is a stroke of genius. I don't intimately know or read or claim to know or claim to understand in any great depth the contractual relationship between Albemarle County and the city of Charlottesville. I know about it because of the Planning District Commission. We were involved in it on a very high board level. The on the ground details I surely don't know, but I understand practicality. I understand logic. His proposal of, well, hold a time out, the Water Street, I believe if I remember the numbers right, at any given time, there's like, even pre-pandemic was like 50 or 100. I can't remember the math. You probably do.
I do, yeah. I do.
There was enough parking spots to
The
meet
gist of his argument was, if COVID has changed the density of workers downtown,
Okay,
do we
got it.
need a new parking garage?
So I think the short answer to that is no, right? You and I have had this conversation many, many times prior to today. I think we are going to see a hybrid. It's already happening. You know, I believe Lloyd quoted State Farm, right? You're going to start seeing that, right? And there's certain industries that just can't do that, right? But, you know, I think you're going to see that. What that magic number chases down to, you know, nobody really knows.
Let me ask you this question. If we see a hybrid of workers downtown, because COVID has showed that we can work virtually and still be productive from a working standpoint, does that deprioritize downtown? And from a working standpoint, and if if you don't have as many
You're talking about from a real estate perspective or a general perspective?
I mean, think about the domino effect. If there's not as many workers downtown, then you can't have as many restaurants in operation.
I agree with that.
Because you don't have as many customers that are going to eat there.
But
And if you don't have as many restaurants in operation, then you're not going to have as Tony or as popular of a dining district. And if you don't have as Tony or as popular of a dining district, which is what downtown is restaurants, does that then impact the value of the real estate around the downtown mall?
So the numbers are saying no.
Okay.
Right? So we're homes are coming on and coming off. At the moment, it has not. That doesn't mean sometime in the future it may not. And I come from this from a very different lens than you do, because I remember in '87
when it was empty,
when it was literally not this empty. I'm like really empty.
I remember in 2000, first year, trying to sneak into Miller's, and we did. And as students at UVA, we were being heckled and told to get out of the downtown mall, that students weren't welcome here.
That has changed drastically.
Yeah.
And to tie it into the West Main streetscape, which I think Lloyd, I love watching your show, you know that. Sometimes I do multiple different things and I listen to it in my fancy $8,000 hearing aids. That show I did not. I literally stopped everything I was doing for that whole interview and listened to him word by word and what you were saying. And he was spot on. Not political. This was looked very clearly on the thing. I think I put in the feed. Take a look at the Standardsville streetscape, what the difference it made in Standardsville. These things are difficult. These things are hard to get through. These things are expensive. But they make a huge difference. And what I really liked about it was his how he was connecting verbally the downtown mall and UVA. And I can tell you, I remember, and you just quoted it, I remember there was this visual...
oh, yeah. UVA stopped at 14th Street. You didn't go past 14th.
Absolutely.
When I was a student.
Vice versa.
Yeah, right.
Locals didn't go that way.
Unless it was summertime or December.
That never happened. That you don't see happening now. And you can just see that by the Quirk, right? And all these restaurants and all these great venues.
I think what really helped with that was Uber, social media, technology, like Lime scooters, you know, like where a student could get on those.
Don't go there. Those were a disaster. But
how a student could get on. They're still in operation.
Yeah.
So like all these kids have more access.
My old man dad thing freaks out about those things.
I love riding it. The students have more access to stuff outside the bubble.
Yeah.
So they're exploring Charlottesville more.
So we are at one needs. This is a difficult conversation to have, right? One needs to, for the moment, put behind COVID. I know it's a hard thing to say. I know it may upset some people that I said that. But what I really liked about what Lloyd was saying is he's looking forward. And I think we are at the perfect timing of things. All this stuff is complicated. All this stuff is difficult, right? But, you know, he equated this to the downtown mall, right, on how that was done. I believe it was $5 million or whatever the number was at the particular time. But I'm going
four.
I'm going to rally it back to Chip Boyles and the new city manager, which I think and pray on him all day because he's got one hell of a job. But there's something that I have personally had conversations with him before that he is hopefully going to pursue forward. This thing called Town and Gown. For whatever reason, that never really happened in this town. And it's starting to happen. And it's starting to come together where the university and the city are coming together on this massive. I've received an email from some folks at UVA yesterday. This massive program they're putting together to help affordable housing. It's ratcheting up, and it is going to involve all the local governments and all the local nonprofits. I mean, they're going to commit to this in a huge way, and I'm sure you've read that. But when my question I was asking myself when you guys were talking about this, okay, let's assume we can put everybody at a table, Albemarle County, Charlottesville, negotiate, said, look, guys, this is where we're at.
Talking garage.
Garage, thank you.
Well, I mean, from what he said yesterday, I mean, there's a clear out.
Yeah.
And the clear out is you just give them the spaces in the garage and give them the money back for the land.
There's clear outs contractually, and then there's sitting down with your partners and having a conversation. And
that's
saying,
renegotiating.
Okay, let's call it renegotiating.
Isn't that what that is?
No, I don't think so. Not at this level. This is, there was so much bad blood to get to this point.
Yeah.
Right.
See, that's the crappy thing is.
Well, that's the way you do that. The way I would do that.
You're saying the bad blood between the city and the county.
Oh yeah, totally.
And then Randolph, who was a supervisor, now I believe planning commissioner, right? Mm-hmm. He said upon signing this agreement that Charlottesville has a long history of breaking their promise. Now, this is what has to be analyzed. COVID was something that was never planned and unforeseen. Is COVID a genuine enough reason for this deal to not materialize?
So
I say yes.
So you've gone multiple steps of where I think it needs to go.
Okay.
It's much like this listing that we did, right?
Uh-huh.
We put it out in front of the world in transparency that this is what has to happen in order to move forward.
Okay.
Deals change, circumstances change. It's just human nature. It's just how this stuff goes that are this out. This is not a 30-day transaction or a 60-day transaction or whatever. This is a multiple-year transaction. These are partners. It's not an adversarial relationship, right? Mm-hmm. And what I heard what Lloyd was saying, if I was sitting in the city council seat, the first thing I would do is say, okay, guys, let's all get to a table. Let's do a joint session. Let's talk about this. Circumstances have changed. Mm-hmm. This is what we're thinking.
He said that. Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
And he will, and I think they'll do this. And then, okay, guys or gals or people, what do we got to do to change this? Because we got to move forward. There's a little thing about this too. The judge, you know who controls this stuff? Is the judge. And I was involved in the Fulvana County new court that was built decades ago. And that judge literally threatened to put certain elected officials in jail because they couldn't get the deal done because it's his court. That courthouse actually belongs to whatever judge or whatever district judge that is doing it, not the city. He's the one that runs that show, or Albemarle County. Maybe I'll catch a bunch of junk for that, but that's really the practical end of it. So I think everybody comes to a table. Hey guys, here's our solution. Let's see how it goes in the next 24 months or whatever, and move on. But to me, and I'll get in a bunch of trouble probably. I never understood turning a prime spot into a parking garage.
Right.
I never
right.
understood that.
I think the discussion now is to make that prime spot into a multi-purpose structure
exactly right.
That's not just parking. I'm looking at his Lloyd Snook for Council Facebook page where he publishes a lot of this content, and he says this deal provided that the city and county would build a new general district court building
Sure.
on the block at the corner of Park and High Street
Sure.
where the Levy Opera House now sits, and that the city would guarantee the county either 90 spaces in a new parking garage to be built on the site of what is now a parking lot at 7th and East Market, plus the lot on which the Lucky 7 sits, plus the lot on which the Guadalajara restaurant now sits, or the county's choice of either 100 dedicated spots in the Market Street garage or having a half interest in the surface lot at 7th and East Market Street conveyed back to the county and giving them the sole right to those 63 spots. So he's pretty much saying that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, and
he's going to say that the county's going to say, we're going to take 100 spots in the Market Street garage for county only.
What they're doing is just they're exercising. They, meaning the city, is exercising it. Again, I don't have the agreement in front of me.
Yeah.
But they're exercising their rights within the agreement.
Yeah.
And saying this is what we're going to give you.
This is the alternative
option.
Yeah.
So if it's that simple, and I trust Lloyd,
I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. So then it's a simple thing, But the whole debate on is it the best use of the property? I feel that it's not. Look at it this way. This conversation we've been having forever about the Kim Market on Cherry. So literally that is what I've been trying to propose for years. And I just can't get people to come along with me because of the price point, is literally turn it into a mixed use facility. There's some structured parking, surface parking, businesses, some affordable housing. To me, again, I'm sticking my toe probably someplace that it doesn't belong. To me, as a real estate guy,
it's a no-brainer.
It's pretty much a no-brainer.
Yeah. And on top of that, it's the entryway.
And if we can create affordable housing in that spot, how cool is that?
It's the entryway to one of the most important neighborhoods in Charlottesville, a historically African-American neighborhood in Charlottesville.
Absolutely.
And right now, the entryway or the gateway to this neighborhood is of a dilapidated property with potholes in the parking lot. And it's like boarded up. It's got like a fence around it.
You're talking about Kim's Market.
Yeah.
Huh? Oh, yeah, it's worse.
Because that's right next to the sign that says, "Welcome to Fifeville."
Yeah, it's worse than that.
Yeah.
It's an industrial storage place.
It's a storage place for a contracting firm.
HVAC contracting
firm.
That it's just like a middle landing.
It's not even their home base. Their home base is in Harrisonburg. They're one of the primary contractors for the University of Virginia. And instead of driving their equipment from UVA to Harrisonburg, they were losing so much money on wear and tear, manpower, and gas that they just chose to rent here.
It's more than that. Now it's become a shipping hub for their other projects that are so it's like a what is Amazon has these things, right?
A hub.
A hub. That's what this is.
So make an argument even worse.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Because you're saying you got heavy industrial vehicles going in and out.
Well, that I don't know for a fact, but I know that if you go and just put your head over to the fence, it's loaded with commercial grade HVAC equipment that's being circulated within a region.
There you go, Keith Smith.
Yeah. So if we have a minute,
yeah. What's
your opinion on West Main?
I think Lloyd explained it extremely well.
Do you think it's gonna?
Here's my take on Lloyd, the interview with Lloyd. Lloyd is having, and he straight up said this. Lloyd Snook is being more transparent than ever with publishing his thoughts.
Good.
Because he's trying to offer a level of leadership that perhaps is not here.
Okay.
And I'll leave it at that.
Sure.
And then the next thing he said was that, look, I'm a lawyer, and I know this is going to ruffle the feathers of a lot of attorneys, the people I see every day in court.
Sure.
But maybe this parking garage next to the courthouse is not the best idea. So when a guy who's an attorney says, this isn't a good idea and I'm going to piss off a lot of people, that shows that this guy's putting the city first.
Yep.
And then the next thing he says is, we have to do the West Main Streetscape project because we got $20 million from the state and UVA that could go away if we don't do it.
Same situation.
And if it's a $50 million project and the state and UVA are offering $20 million now, what is that, 40% of the project? They risk losing that money if they don't go now, and then it goes away.
Yeah. So
and then he said, last thing, then he said the utilities underground at West Main have to be dug up anyway. So wouldn't it make sense to dig up the utilities at the same time of doing the streetscape project as opposed to doing two separate construction projects on what is arguably the most important corridor in the city of Charlottesville?
So
is that what he said?
So literally, what you just outlined is the reason I put all my stuff down and listened to every word that man said.
Yeah.
So I can tell you on firsthand experience, Nassau and National Street we built for the land trust. When we had to make the connections into the sewer, it cost us another $40,000 because of the age of the sewer system. We had to replace whole sections.
And this is like a mile plus on a busy road for West Main that they would have to do.
So to geek out a little bit, he's spot on. So what happens with this terracotta pipes and all this stuff that's literally 100 years old. Some of the stuff's older than that. As soon as you touching that, it just goes and cracks and goes, and you just got to chase that all the way back. So this whole thing is just you. If they think it's going to cost X, it's going to cost way more than that.
Right. So take the free money. Take the 20.
Well, that's what happened in Standardsville, right? Standardsville had a VDOT grant that was a matching grant, 50-50 matching grant, and it wasn't as quite numbers, but for Standardsville and Greene County, it was a huge number. And if you ever have an opportunity to go out there and take a look,
it's beautiful.
It's absolutely gorgeous.
They're doing a streetscape project in Fry Springs.
And where are they doing it? In our buddy's backyard.
Where's that?
Nelson County.
And Jesse?
And Lovingston.
And Lovingston?
They are in the process of, I believe, all the money's in place and doing all this great stuff. So it's really a home run. It'll make a huge difference, in my opinion, up that way. And, it's money well spent. And I think what Lloyd's trying to do is pivot some cash from
parking garage
over to that way.
Oh, yeah.
And
or
that
to
makes
schools.
Sense. Or to schools.
Yeah.
Or some other.
Especially since
or maybe to the land trust.
Especially since he said we don't know the business property tax level yet.
No.
Or to the land trust,
I had to get that in there.
Yeah, that was nice. I wish it went to the land trust.
Yeah. Well, look, the whole... I know we're getting overtime, and I know you got another show to do. But just to wrap it around, that the reason you put in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours prior to next Friday and last Friday, and we have, is the reality of it is we know that
they
we're
don't
just
have any money.
We're just not going to get it from there. And we need to do this as a community to help folks. It's that simple.
There you go. Keith Smith, well said. Judah Wickhauer is the director. My name is Jerry Miller. He is Keith Smith. He is the distinguished gentleman. Friday's show, my friend. What are you thinking?
This may be up in the air. We're supposed to get 8 inches of snow Thursday. So
did you know that, Judah? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Do you watch the weather, J-Dubs? I don't watch the weather too much. Neither do I.
I watch the weather, and
yeah.
I guess that's maybe my old developer builder thing, trying to figure out the thing. But we're going to have to play that one a little bit by ear on Thursday, and let's hope they're wrong. But the Weather Channel this morning said 5 to 8 inches. So.
On Thursday.
On Thursday.
Time will tell.
Somebody ought to check that. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I'm sure you're right. We'll follow the show, follow the network to see what happens on Friday. We're grateful for you guys watching the show. He's Keith Smith of the Yes Team Realtors and Yes Realty Partners. Judah Wickhauer is the director. My name is Jerry Miller. Real Talk airs Tuesdays and Fridays at 10:15 a.m. on the I Love Seville Network.
Again, from my heart to you, thank you for all you do. Thank you for putting this up, putting up with me in particular to get to this particular point on Friday. And I'm damn proud to call you a friend, and thank you for all you do.
Same. Right back at you. It's absolutely our pleasure. Thank you for joining us, guys. You have a good morning, and we'll see you in an hour and 8 minutes for the I Love Seville show.
What do you got
Take
today?
care.